study I'm presenting today is a phase 3 study of Ibalizumab in HIV-positive patients with heavily treatment-experienced and multidrug-resistant virus. It is a monoclonal antibody administered intravenously every 2 weeks. As such, it's the first in this coming paradigm shift of long-acting antiretroviral therapy, which might provide a different treatment option for some of our patients who don't want to do daily oral therapy. But the real importance of Ibalizumab is its novel mechanism of action. It is a post-attachment entry inhibitor, basically blocking the conformational changes that occur after GP120 binds to CD4 and prevents binding to the co-receptors. We have a number of other entry inhibitors with Maraviroc, Fusion, and the BMS now ViiV oral attachment inhibitor. What's fortunate is that none of the mutations that confer resistance to these various drugs seem to overlap. So there is no evidence that prior treatment will affect sensitivity to Ibalizumab, nor that failure with Ibalizumab will confer resistance to other drugs. So it's got a unique mechanism of action as an entry inhibitor, administered IV every 2 weeks. As a monoclonal, it's been very safe, well tolerated. I don't see any safety issues to date. And the exciting news is that in patients with heavily pre-treatment multi-drug resistant virus, we followed them for 7 days on a control period. We give them a 2-gram loading dose of Ibalizumab, followed them out to day 14. Then they began their optimized background regimen, receiving every 2 weeks Ibalizumab. But that day 14, 7-day viral load was the primary endpoint and is a clean snapshot of the antiviral activity of Ibalizumab in this heavily treatment experienced multi-drug resistant population. And what we're excited to see is 83% of patients showing a half-log decrease in viral load, fully 60% of patients showing a 1-log decrease in viral load at least, and that the mean and median decrease in viral load was 1.1 logs. So even as monotherapy, a drug in this population causing a reduction of at least 90% of the viral load. That's not enough to take a patient in need of rescue therapy and save them with single agent monotherapy, but cobbled together with 1 or 2 other active agents, it could very well be the difference between life or death, between putting together a successful salvage regimen or not. And when we do that, not only do we help this individual, save this individual from the progression to AIDS, we also prevent that individual from infecting somebody else. So there's plenty of good reason to be excited by these results. The good news is that the success of combination therapy, 1 pill once a day, still it might be the best story of Western medicine in our lifetime, right? 95 plus, maybe 98% of our patients are doing just fine. The issue is the 2% or so that got left behind, either because they didn't take HIV infection seriously. You know, these days we put people on HIV drugs right away before they have any symptoms, and then ask them for a lifelong commitment to stay compliant, and that really runs counter to human nature. Sometimes people get infected with resistant virus. There's still this ugly methamphetamine epidemic we're dealing with. So there are a lot of ways that people can end up with multi-drug resistant virus, but it's still a relatively small population, thankfully, compared to what it was certainly in the 90s and the first decade of this century. And we're imagining it's somewhere in the thousands or tens of thousands at most. But the problem is that even though it's a small population, it's a population that's extremely vulnerable. The average CD4 count in our study was 160, and fully a third of the patients had T cells less than 10. So a third of our folks are people absolutely on the brink. So they're not large, they are vulnerable, they are unfortunately, I think, victims of the very success of HIV drug development, because the drugs are so good and so easy that it's very difficult for new sponsors to come in with new moieties, molecules, and compete for commercial drug development.